Good morning, students. In today's video, we are going to start the next part of the Great Stone Face. In the previous part, we got to know the story that it's a story about a mountain who resembles a human face, and the people who resides near the valley has the prophecy that one day a person will come and he will have the resemblance of the Great Stone Face. Ernest was also a villager who resides in that valley. He also had the belief in that prophecy. We got to know that two people, Mr. Gathergold and General Blood and Thunder, used to come. They returned to the valley, and people celebrated their returning by saying that they both have the resemblance of the Great Stone Face. But Ernest didn't find any similarity between these two people and the Great Stone Face. So, now in this part, we will see what is the conclusion of the story. The years hurried on and brought white hairs upon the head of Ernest, and made wrinkles across his forehead and furrows in his cheeks. He was an old man, but not in vain had he grown old. More numerous than the white hairs on his head were the wise thoughts in his mind. And Ernest has ceased to be obscure. Unsought for, undesired had come the fame which so many seek. He had become famous beyond the limits of the valley. College professors and even the active men of cities came from far to see and converse with Ernest. And he received them with gentle sincerity and spoke freely with them of whatever came uppermost or lay deepest in his heart or their own. While they talked together, his face would brighten unawares and shine upon them as with a mild evening light. So, Ernest is now becoming old, and he is also getting famous, not because of wealth, not because of power, but because of his wisdom. He was having very great thoughts, having very wise philosophy of life. Even college professors used to come and talk to him. They loved to talk to Ernest. His sincerity, his wisdom, making him famous, not even in that valley, but beyond that valley. He was having that fame which many people used to seek. But he was not having the proud of having that fame. So we got to know the character of Ernest, that he is famous because of his wisdom, not because of his wealth and power. He was a very gentle and normal person who used to live a very simple life in that valley, but because of his wisdom, he is getting famous. While Ernest had been growing old, God had granted a new poet to this earth. He too was a native of the valley, but had spent the greater part of his life in distant cities, pouring out his sweet music everywhere. Neither was the great stone face forgotten, for the poet had celebrated it in a poem. The songs of this poet found their way to Ernest. He read them after his customary toil, seated on the bench before his cottage door. As he read, he lifted his eyes to the mountain. O great stone face, he said, is not this man worthy to be your likeness? The face seemed to smile, but did not answer. Now it happened that the poet, though he lived so far away, had not only heard of Ernest, but had thought much about his character and wished to meet this man whose wisdom walked hand in hand with the noble simplicity of his life. One summer day, therefore, he arrived at Ernest's door, where he found the good old man holding a book in his hand, which he read, and then, with a finger between the leaves, looked lovingly at the great stone face. Good evening, said the poet. Can you give a traveler a night's shelter? Gladly, answered Ernest. And then he added, smiling, I think I never saw the great stone face look so hospitably at a stranger. So, in this part, now Ernest is growing old, and a new character has been introduced, a poet. A poet was also a native of this village, but for earnings he has also gone to a city, and there he used to write poems. His poems are getting published in books, in the magazines, and he has written a poem also on the great stone face. So Ernest also was reading that magazine, was reading that poem, and by seeing the beautiful illustration of the great stone face in the poem, he thought that the person who has written this poem might have the resemblance of the great stone face, because the way the great stone face has been described in the poem, a person who has some similarity with the stone face can only write these details about the great stone face. So Ernest was thinking that might be this person who has written this poem has the resemblance of great stone face. Now on the other side, the poet who has written that poem, he has also heard about the popularity of Ernest, and he also wanted to meet him because he heard about his wisdom and his great thoughts, and he decided to go back to the valley to meet Ernest. And he met with Ernest and he asked him to give a shelter to him. And as Ernest was very kind hearted, he just answered gladly, and he was ready to give the shelter to the poet. So, like this, the poet and Ernest have met to each other. The poet sat down beside him and he and Ernest talked together. Never before had the poet talked with a man like Ernest, so wise and gentle and kind. Ernest, on the other hand, was moved by the living images flung out of the poet's mind. As Ernest listened to the poet, he imagined that the great stone face was bending forward to listen too. He gazed into the poet's eyes. "Who are you, my gifted guest?" he asked. The poet laid his finger on the book that Ernest had been reading. "You have read these poems," said he. "You know me, then, for I wrote them." Again and again Ernest examined the poet's features. He turned towards the great stone face, then back. He shook his head and sighed. "Why are you sad?" inquired the poet. "Because," replied Ernest, "all through life I have awaited the fulfillment of a prophecy, and when I read these poems, I hoped that it might be fulfilled in you." "You hoped?" answered the poet, faintly smiling, "to find in me the likeness of the great stone face? I am not worthy to be its likeness." So they both started talking to each other, and the poet was very happy to have a talk with such a kind and gentle person. And Ernest asked him that, "Who are you?" The poet said that the poem which you are reading, okay, that poem was written by me, so you know me better. Then Ernest was very much surprised that he was only thinking about this person only, and he wanted to have the resemblance of the great stone face with the poet. So again and again he started seeing the great stone face and the poet, and by seeing several times, now he is sad. The poet asked that, "Why are you sad?" Then he replied that all through his life he was waiting for the fulfillment of the prophecy, and when he read the poem, he thought that might be it would be fulfilled in the poet. But the poet said that, "You hoped, but I am not worthy to be its likeness." "And why not?" asked Ernest. He pointed to the book. "Are not those thoughts worthy? You can hear in them the distant voice of heavenly song. But my life, dear Ernest, has not corresponded with my thoughts. I have had grand dreams, but they have been only dreams. Sometimes I lack faith in my own thoughts. Why then, pure seeker of the good and true, should you hope to find me in the face of the mountain?" The poet spoke sadly, and his eyes were wet with tears. So too were those of Ernest. So he said, why the Ernest asked that why you can't be the resemblance of the great stone face, because you have you have written such worthy thoughts about the great stone face. Then he said that might be you are finding it worthy, but I am not corresponding with my thoughts. I have grand dreams, but these been dreams only. Sometimes even he was lacking faith in his own thoughts, so he was not so sure about this. So he don't find himself worthy to be the resemblance of great stone face. So the poet spoke it sadly, and both of their eyes were filled with tears. At the hour of sunset, as had long been his custom, Ernest was to speak to a group of neighbors in the open air. Together he and the poet went to the meeting place, arm in arm. From there could be seen the great stone face. Ernest threw a look of familiar kindness around upon his audience. He began to speak to the people what was in his heart and mind. His words had power because they agreed with his thoughts, and his thoughts had reality and depth because they harmonized with the life which he had always lived. It was not mere breath that the preacher uttered, they were the words of life, a life of good deeds. And selfless love was melted into them. The poet, as he listened, felt that the life and character of Ernest were a nobler strain of poetry than he had ever written. His eyes filled with tears, and he said to himself that never was there so worthy a sage as that mild, sweet, thoughtful face with the glory of white hair diffused about it. At a distance, but clearly to be seen, high up in the golden light of the setting sun appeared the great stone face, with white mist around it, like the white hairs around the brow of Ernest. At the moment, Ernest's face took on an expression so grand that the poet was moved to throw his arms up and shout, "Behold, behold, Ernest is himself the likeness of the great stone face." Then all the people looked and saw that what the poet said was true. The prophecy was fulfilled. But Ernest, having finished what he had to say, took the poet's arm and walked slowly homeward, still hoping that some wiser and better man than himself would by and by appear, bearing a resemblance to the great stone face. So, after that, what happened when Ernest has the routine to go to the neighbors and have a talk, as everyone was very much fond of his wisdom, of his thoughts. So, every evening he used to go in the neighborhood and he used to talk with the people. People loved to listen to him. So, that day he took the poet with himself and he was talking. And during the talks, the poet get to know, the poet understood that he is such a kind, noble, and gentle person, having such wisdom and having such wise thoughts. So, in that moment only, when he was praising Ernest in his mind, he saw the great stone face. And what he has seen, that there was exact resemblance of Ernest's face in the great stone face. And he shouted that, "Behold, behold, Ernest is the only resemblance of the great stone face." And all the people saw together the great stone face and Ernest, and they now are very happy as the prophecy was fulfilled. But Ernest, then also he was silent. He took poet's arm and get back to his home, thinking that one day any other person who will be more wiser and better than himself will come and will be a resemblance of the great stone face. So at last we get to know from this story that not the wealth, not the power will make you great. What is there? It is the character, a good character, which makes a person great. Ernest was not having any wealth, not having any power, but he was having a good and great character. He was noble, he was humble, he was wise, he was so kind, and these everything made him the resemblance of the great stone face. So, this is it for the story. I hope all of you have understood, and as a home assignment, you will complete the question answers. Okay, and here we are finishing the syllabus. All the best for your final exams. Thank you, everyone.